Like and subscribe may look simple to you, but for us, it's very valuable. So make sure to support us, and thank you for watching.
The movie begins in the 1940s, when a young boy named Sergey Aleshkov is playing near a tree while his mother washes clothes by the river. His older brother, Petya, is fishing nearby, and the family is enjoying a peaceful moment together. Suddenly, a plane appears in the sky, and panic sets in as it begins shooting. Sergey uses his slingshot to shoot the enemy aircraft, thinking he is actually blowing it. However, when he looks back to share the moment with his mother and brother, they have both vanished. Later that night, Sergey is awakened by frantic knocking. Hoping to see his mother, he opens the door but finds his terrified aunt, Anicia. She urges him to pack quickly, but Sergey refuses, saying he must care for the house as his mother asked. Anicia then delivers the heartbreaking news that his mother and brother are dead, warning that if the soldiers discover who he is, they'll kill him too. In a panic, she helps him escape through the window. As he flees, German soldiers storm in and shoot Anicia, killing her instantly. Sergey looks back to see his neighborhood in flames and runs into the forest, calling for his mother. Hours later, he hides under a tree's roots when he hears soldiers nearby. As they camp, a snake slithers toward him, but he remains still until the soldiers leave. Hungry, he searches for food and finds a discarded can. Days pass, and Sergey becomes so weak he can barely walk. He tries to gather berries, but is interrupted by a bombing. Pushing through his fear, he stumbles deeper into the forest, feeling watched. Yelling into the darkness, he claims he isn't scared and presses on. Exhausted, Sergey collapses, talking to a nearby hedgehog in his delirium. Soon, rain begins to fall, and he drinks what he can before finally losing the strength to continue. Hours pass before two Russian soldiers come across the boy, barely conscious. They carry him back to their camp, where they face reprimands from their commander, Kuznetsov, for not completing their assigned task. However, when they reveal the boy in their arms, Kuznetsov's tone changes and asks the boy for his name and where he's from. When the conversation shifts to his family, Sergey tearfully explains that they have all perished. Moved by his story, Kuznetsov instructs his men to care for the boy, ensuring that Sergey is fed and looked after. The soldiers take him in, offering him safety and much-needed care. As a few hours pass, the soldiers, trying to take their minds off the looming battle, chat about their families and joke around, laughing together. The light-hearted atmosphere is abruptly interrupted when a bomb suddenly hits the infirmary, throwing them into chaos. Sergey, now affectionately called Sergey by the soldiers, is having his wounds treated by nurse Katya. He flinches in pain as she tends to him, so she tries to make him laugh by cracking jokes to keep his mind off the pain. Despite the sounds of explosions outside, the other patients in the infirmary also do their best to lighten the mood for Sergey, trying to shield him from the fear and danger of their situation. With the attack ongoing, more injured soldiers are brought in, and Katya rushes to help them. Even though Sergey is weak and wounded, his curiosity about soldier life grows. He watches the soldiers around him with fascination, eager to learn more about what it means to be one of them. Over time, Sergey starts to fit in and wins over the hearts of everyone in the camp. One day, Katya is called by a soldier who has found a goat wandering near the camp. No one knows how the animal arrived there, but everyone is excited, knowing they can now enjoy fresh milk and cheese, luxuries they haven't had in a long time. Commander Kuznetsov comes by to check on Sergey, relieved to see the boy recovering well. Sergey, in his usual playful manner, jokes about getting a painful injection from a big needle, admitting his newfound fear of them. Kuznetsov lightens the mood further by confessing that he too is scared of needles, which makes Sergey laugh. Sergey, curious about Kuznetsov's honor badge, asks to see it. Kuznetsov explains its significance and lets him hold his pistol after unloading it. Sergey playfully pretends to shoot, intrigued by the signature on the gun. Kuznetsov explains it was a gift from General Ostershow, but takes the gun back, reminding Sergey he's too young for such things. Undeterred, Sergey proudly shows Kuznetsov a drawing of a battle tank on his belly and asks if he's ever owned a plane. When Kuznetsov says no, Sergey draws one on his bandaged arm. Later, Katya tries to convince Kuznetsov to let Sergey stay, warning that sending him away means an orphanage. Despite her offer to care for him, Kuznetsov refuses, saying the camp isn't suitable for a child. Sergey bonds with the soldiers who often visit him, bringing binoculars and candy from Rezo. Meanwhile, Katya confides in a fellow nurse, admitting she cried while treating Sergey and is deeply worried about his future, fearing she'll never see him again. Despite the nurse's comfort, Katya remains troubled about Sergey. The following morning, Igor approaches Kuznetsov, attempting to persuade him to allow Sergey to stay. He explains how the soldiers have grown fond of the boy, as he has become a source of warmth and hope within the camp. However, Kuznetsov stands firm, arguing that Sergey doesn't belong there. He reveals that he has already made arrangements and signed the papers to send Sergey to an orphanage. Igor, desperate, pleads with him, pointing out that the roads are crawling with German forces and are far too dangerous for a young boy. But Kuznetsov insists that the camp is even more perilous, admitting that he too is saddened by Sergey's impending departure. Kuznetsov explains that while they might get attached to him after the war, an orphanage is where he will inevitably end up. He dismisses Igor, who leaves frustrated and angry. During a later battle, the Russian forces engage in a counterattack. Kuznetsov orders his men to strike back at the enemy, and as the chaos unfolds, he notices Katya struggling to help a wounded soldier. He quickly steps in to assist her, before returning to the front lines to fiercely join in the fighting. After the skirmish, the director of the orphanage arrives to take Sergey away. Furious, Katya storms off in frustration. Kuznetsov sits Sergey down to talk, but the boy, full of determination, insists that he can fight and help. Growing serious, Kuznetsov tells him that it's time for him to leave and hands him an honorary weapon as a token of respect. Sergey, heartbroken, hugs him tightly. In a moment of sudden emotion, Kuznetsov tears up the orphanage papers and, in a heartfelt decision, asks Sergey if he would like to become his son. Overwhelmed with joy, Sergey embraces him, finding the family he had long lost. The next challenge for everyone at the camp is finding clothes that fit Sergey. Igor gathers old uniforms and fabric, setting them aside for the tailor to make new clothes for the boy. Katya pitches in by bringing the smallest boots she can find, though even those need resizing. The tailor assures them he'll adjust everything, and the soldiers leave the clothing in his hands. The following morning, Kuznetsov wakes Sergey by calling him soldier and gives him 45 seconds to get dressed. Sergey confidently responds that he's already a soldier. Kuznetsov then presents him with the newly tailored uniform and tells him to dress like a proper one. Thrilled, Sergey starts to put on his new clothes. Kuznetsov, lighting a match for fun, challenges Sergey to get dressed before it burns out. It takes Sergey many matches, but he finally manages to put on the uniform. Suddenly, the camp comes under a surprise attack. Kuznetsov quickly hides Sergey in a safe spot, a hole, while the soldiers engage the enemy. Despite the chaos, Sergey insists on helping. He assists in the infirmary, giving water to the wounded. And though he can't read, he makes up stories to comfort a bandaged soldier. In a particularly tense moment, Sergey sings to lift the spirits of the injured men as more and more wounded soldiers are brought in. Later, while Katya dozes off, Sergey naps on her lap. Kuznetsov arrives and, seeing them, tries to start a conversation with Katya about something he's been meaning to say for a while. But just as he begins, Sergey wakes up, causing Kuznetsov to change the subject to the lack of space for the injured. After Katya leaves, Sergey asks Kuznetsov if he helped during the day, which the commander confirms. Wanting to thank the tailor for his new uniform, Sergey and Kuznetsov go to his workshop, only to find it bombed, leaving the tailor's tools and place destroyed. As the camp begins rebuilding, Sergey tries his hand at shaving, amusing the soldiers who joke about him having a date. He proudly responds, "I'm a soldier." He later joins the men where they are planning the next move and officially reports for duty. Kuznetsov assigns him the task of delivering letters to the soldiers, and when he notices a small cut on Sergey's cheek, Sergey explains it happened while shaving, making everyone laugh. Sergey happily takes on the job of distributing the mail, something he enjoys greatly. One day, while playing with his camouflage suit and binoculars, Sergey spots enemy soldiers hiding nearby. He rushes back to camp to alert the soldiers, who follow his directions and successfully capture the enemy. Proud of Sergey's bravery, Kuznetsov praises him. During a conversation with another soldier, Sergey boldly interrupts, stating that as a soldier like the rest, he deserves officers' paulets. He then brings up Katya, leading Kuznetsov to her. However, as they approach, Kuznetsov sees Katya by the riverbank with another soldier, who appears to be helping her retrieve clothes. The wind had blown into the water. Misunderstanding the situation, Kuznetsov walks away without saying a word. In another battle, Sergey contributes by delivering ammunition to the soldiers amidst the chaos of explosions. When the communication lines between the troops break down, Sergey takes it upon himself to follow the line and find the broken connection. He manages to reconnect the lines, restoring vital communication. Later that night, while talking to another soldier, Sergey learns about love and realizes that Kuznetsov and Katya have feelings for each other. Determined to help them, he devises a plan. He tricks Katya into believing Kuznetsov is sick, leading her to his room. Kuznetsov, caught off guard, awkwardly explains the misunderstanding. However, before he can confess his true feelings, Katya, embarrassed, leaves the room, missing the opportunity for them to finally connect. Rezo had brought a group of dogs to the camp, which immediately lifted everyone's spirits, especially Sergey, who was thrilled by their presence. The soldiers and nurse Katya were equally delighted by the playful energy the dogs brought. At one point, Sergey sat on a small wheeled sled, and the dogs eagerly pulled him along, taking him straight toward the woods. Seeing the situation get out of control, Rezo quickly jumped on a bike and raced ahead of the dogs, managing to stop them just in time to prevent Sergey from getting hurt. Meanwhile, Kuznetsov had finally decided it was time to confess his feelings for Katya. As they stood together, on the verge of a kiss, they were interrupted by a soldier delivering an urgent message. The orders stated that the troops would be setting out the next day for their next mission. The following morning, the soldiers began their march toward the city. Just as they were advancing, a sudden explosion shattered the moment. Rezo had accidentally stepped on a landmine and was killed instantly. The loss hit hard, but the troops had no choice but to return to camp and resume their regular duties. Sergey, though grieving, continued with his small tasks, helping as best he could. Later that evening, Sergey and Kuznetsov took a walk through the woods, sharing a rare quiet moment. Kuznetsov spoke to Sergey about military rewards and honors, and the boy eagerly asked if he, too, might be awarded one. Kuznetsov confirmed it, filling Sergey with pride. Soon after, Sergey was officially decorated as the youngest soldier of World War II, receiving a Medal of Honor for his bravery. The war, however, raged on, and during another battle, Kuznetsov was severely injured and trapped beneath rubble. He managed to tell the other soldiers to rescue Sergey first, prompting them to rush to his aid. Afterward, Katya informed everyone that Kuznetsov would be okay. Sergey, worried, went to see him, and Kuznetsov, despite his injuries, asked Sergey if he was hurt and reassured him not to cry. The movie concludes with the soldiers preparing to head into another battle, Sergey marching alongside them as their beloved little soldier, symbolizing both the tragedy and resilience of war.
And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our recap. Watch other recaps on the screen. Like the video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one.